This is a style of cake that is lightened only with beaten egg. So no chemical leavener. That's something like a baking powder, baking soda. That's just to say that it's important that we create a very finely textured and very stable foam. So one of the ways we do that is by using this little ingredient called cream of tartar. It's an acid that basically helps to stabilize the egg whites as they whip. Then I'm going to add kosher salt. It also helps with stabilizing the egg whites. These egg whites will take about 4 minutes, and so it's over the course of that 4 minutes, I want to slowly increase the speed until I get to around medium-high. So the idea is to create a very light, stable foam, basically like making a meringue, with your whites, and then I'm going to fold it into the yolk mixture. And it's really the whites that is going to give the cake its lift, so it's creating all these really fine little air bubbles, and then in the oven, as that air heats up, they expand and you get this really light, beautiful cake. So it's looking really light. I get a little bit of a peak, but like they droop. So I'm gonna keep going, and I wanna get firm peaks. So this is what I would call a firm peak. You can see that the peak is holding totally upright, it's not drooping. Now I don't want to beat beyond this point because when you overbeat egg whites, they go dry and they get sort of lumpy. They almost have like a curdled look to them. And that is a very, very difficult texture to incorporate into a batter. Now I'm gonna move over to my egg yolks. And no need to clean the beaters. The whole point of doing the egg whites first is that I don't have to clean the beaters. So I'm gonna combine the egg yolks with the remaining sugar. I'm gonna start beating these on medium-high. And I want to get this to the point where it's very, very pale and light and thick and it forms a ribbon. So when we say a slowly dissolving ribbon, we mean that it will sit on top of the surface before it settles back in. So this is a nice ribbon. One of the things that keeps, I shouldn't say one of the things, the thing that keeps this sponge really flexible and not dry is the addition of oil. So what I'm gonna do is slowly stream this in while I'm mixing on like medium, high, and it's gonna emulsify into my egg yolk mixture. Try to avoid hitting the beaters though as you stream the oil in because you'll kind of like whip it around the bowl. It's very smooth and thick and light. So the next step is to add half of my flour. If it's really lumpy out of the bag, sift it. I did not sift it. I was just like, I don't want to sift anything in this recipe. Every time I sift something onto a mixer like this, I make lumps. So I don't understand what the point is. At this stage, you want to mix actually as little as possible. So just on low until the flour disappears. Okay, that's it. The water is to thin it out a little bit, make the texture a little looser so that I can more easily incorporate the egg whites. I've added the remainder of the flour, and I'm just mixing on low until that disappears. This next step is called folding. Folding, if anyone is a Schitt's Creek fan, can I say Schitt's Creek on camera? Folding is a means of mixing something very gently. Obviously that's what we want to do here because we don't want to deflate and liquefy the egg whites, otherwise our cake will bake flat and dense. Use a nice wide flexible spatula if you have one, and it basically is taking what's on the bottom of the bowl and moving it to what's on top. And that is basically combining what's in the bowl in a gentle way. And then once I see that they're well incorporated, I'm gonna add half of what's remaining, which is basically a third of the total still. These are incorporating very easily because I didn't overbeat the egg whites. If you were to have overbeaten them, this would be hard because you would get like pockets of egg white that don't want to incorporate. So it's a little streaky, but I'm gonna go ahead and add the remaining third of my egg whites. And the idea here is that you are incorporating these as effectively as you can, but with mixing the least amount possible. You can see that the whole thing is like super moussey and light. So I'm gonna fold this until it's completely streak free. So this is ready to go. I'm gonna grab my pan and I'm just gonna pour it in. And then this pretty much settles, but I'm gonna use an offset spatula to just smooth out the surface. And now the last step before I bake is I'm gonna tap this on the counter once or twice, pretty firmly. And basically this is gonna pop any really large air bubbles. This looks good. I'm gonna put it in the oven, 325. Don't open the door, especially not in the first 20 minutes